What's up, everybody? I'm Mckenty. This is my second channel, and this is your home for my Twitch highlights and my podcast. So if you like this and you want to see more of that and you want to join the live streams, there's a link to that in the description of this video. And with that out of the way, let's look at some emo TikToks here. You could spend like all day just going down the rabbit hole of this. That's what Aunt does for me. She finds all these for me, finds the cream of the crop. So let's take a look at them. Let's cringe or not cringe with emo TikTok, because actually there's a lot of really smart, clever kids on TikTok. So it's really not cringing at them as much as it is laughing with them. This girl's making a Monster Energy bow tie.
If you are under the age of 16, I would highly request that you have your parent or older sibling help you out with this, because they are sharp and you can cut yourself, and I don't want anybody getting hurt. Here are the things that you will need. First thing you want to do is cut right here on this line and remove this entire top piece. Aim for more above. Poke little holes in it.
The preschool scissors.
And then just start cutting. Carefully want to start cutting. Just about above the line. You then want to cut a line in between the nutrition facts and the description of the Monster Energy can. So like right
I like
about
how
right
serious
here.
she is. Like, there's no irony here. This is like
you want to head towards the barcode.
Pure information.
And cut all along the bottom to remove this piece. Like for part 2.
Here's what I think is interesting about this is how Monster has been retconned as part of like scene culture. And not to say it isn't necessarily, but 15 years ago or whatever when it came out, and certainly in the MySpace era, Monster was more part of like Five Finger Death Punch, like bro, redneck kind of culture, I would say, than scene culture. Maybe scene kids drank Monster, but this is not true authentic scene culture. This is scene revival culture, and respect to her for taking her craft so seriously. But Monster was a dirtbag culture, a dirt bike, dirt bag also. But yeah, Monster was like motocross, dirt bike culture for sure. Sometimes there was like the crossover of that when they would sponsor, you know, Asking Alexandria and Suicide Silence, those bands that had a little bit of the bro motocross crossover sort of audience. But you know, respect to this girl for doing her thing. I appreciate anybody that takes their craft seriously, and I think she does. What else does she have? What is this?
Oh, I'm dropping all these chokers. I hope no alternative person followed these back to my house so we can play dress up and have fun with makeup. Gotcha.
This is how you set a trap for an e-girl, I guess. What I want to know is how often this girl actually dresses up like this in the wild. I feel like I saw like legit scene kids that actually dressed up to this extent maybe half a dozen times in that whole era. Like, it was very rare to see somebody that took it this far. And I wonder how often she does. I also think it's interesting that now referring to yourself as alternative non-ironically is a thing. I remember in high school, like when grunge and alternative rock and stuff started to be a thing, we would refer to things as alternative like for a joke, like, oh, that's so alternative, because it sounded so stupid to say. But now it seems like it's totally okay to refer to yourself as alternative in a totally non-ironic way. So that's kind of interesting. MFs be like, where are the goth girls at? MFs when the goth girls are present. It's you're MFs. It is Death shirt. I love how self-aware TikTok is now. Like, this guy knows the deal. He is the MF that he is referring to as well. We've all been that MF. His battle vests on the wall. I love how self-aware TikTok is. Like, to me, that's the evolution of youth culture more than anything, is self-awareness. When I was in high school, there was zero self-awareness. We all thought we were so cool and took ourselves so seriously. You know, in Facebook, there was no irony, or, you know, in MySpace, like, everyone was super sincere and took themselves super seriously in there. It wasn't until like Tumblr that people started kind of getting a sense of humor. And now it's sort of the opposite of like TikTok. Everyone is so like hyper self-aware that nothing is sincere, and there's like 7 layers of irony for everything. Like, I hate myself, JK. No, but seriously, but JK, I was just joking about how I was joking about how I hate myself. So no, seriously, I hate myself, but I'm just kidding. We're in like the post-modern world now, where I don't even think the people who make these things know if they are sincere or not. Another interesting thing about this is that there can be such a big disparity between how people act online versus how they act in person. You know, there's a lot of people who are really funny and charismatic and clever online, and you're like, oh man, this person's going to be the most fun, like it's going to be a riot to hang out with this person. And then you meet them and they just fucking stand in the corner, don't say shit. They're the most like shy, introverted person ever. And you're just like, what? How is this the same person? Did I just get like catfished? If you ever meet me, I think that I'm the same in person as I am online, I think. I try to be. I mean, obviously, like when you're doing a YouTube video, you're putting on a little bit of performance, but I don't think that I'm different in person than I'm online. Oh, you listen to metal? What's your favorite subgenre? Okay, so I guess this is like when she meets someone and she's like, oh, you like metal? So do I. And then this other person's like, oh, that's cool. And then they reveal that their favorite genre is nu metal. And she is disappointed. I think that's what it is. And she hashtagged it slam. This is a very, very rare example of a female gatekeeper. You don't see a lot of these. This is like finding, what is it, a shiny Pokemon? Are those like the super rare ones? I feel like we need to capture this and put it in a time capsule or something like that, because this is indeed a rare find. And yeah, like it says in the chat, I thought nu metal had become cool. I thought so too. So I want to say this girl might be behind the curve, or maybe she's ahead of the curve. Maybe there's going to be an anti-nu metal like backlash. Maybe. I also noticed she hashtagged it DSBM. That's depressive black metal, right? Which do you guys think is worse as far as like indicating that you are a basement dwelling outcast, being into DSBM or gore grind? I feel like DSBM, you're more likely to harm yourself. If you're into gore grind, you're more likely to commit some sort of horrible crime that will get your mugshot in the paper that I don't want to talk about on Twitch. I feel like if you own any gore grind albums or merch, like you should instantly get an automatic restraining order placed on you against like everybody.
Girls expect when you say you play guitar.
Too? Check this out.
What guitarists are like in reality.
Who the fuck is Little Poop? Yeah, I just changed the strings on my Solar A series. I got 11 through 70s. I could get to like drop E probably. Sing and play the same? I mean, fuck it, I'll try. Does it gent though? Yo, check out this new progressive post-thrash metal song. I'll pull it up right now.
This is what I'm talking about. The self-awareness of TikTok is amazing. And if this kid happens to be watching this by any chance, my friend, all I would have to say is it's not too late to change. You do not have to be this person. You look like you're pretty young. We were all that person at one point. Just take it from me. The sooner you decide to change, the happier you will be. I promise. When did guitarists turn into this, by the way? He's totally right. But when did this happen? Like, when did guitarists become like just assholes? You know what I mean? This is what I think of now if someone talks about internet guitarists, is this kid. Not even gatekeepers, just straight up assholes with horrible, overly strong opinions because they fucking play guitar. Like, why? What is it about playing guitar that gives you this incredibly inflated sense of self-worth that makes you think that you are like the arbiter of taste in like every genre of music? I'm confused. It's just a phase. Well, my advice for you, my friend, gentleman, would be to end this phase as quickly as possible. You'll be happy that you did. Have you guys seen the y'alternative trend? This guy's good. this is a great example of the alternative trend. And remember, they are from Nashville or Tennessee, whatever. So it would make sense, and just goes to show like a great song like this works in any genre. And also, I really hope that this alternative thing gets some traction and gets bigger. I think it's a great sound. And there's no reason that you can't have, you know, alternative country music. That's been a thing for a long time in a certain way. And for the longest time, alternative country music had to be that like try hard outlaw country, like I'm a badass Sturgill Simpson type stuff, which is fine. I mean, nothing wrong with that. But, you know, I'm into this kind of stuff. I want upbeat, like happy country that's not about like drinking whiskey straight out of a fucking rotten leather boot or whatever they sing about. I'm hoping for more of this, of like the pop punk take on country. I want the alternative to be a thing. I want to be able to go to shows and, you know, hang out with people like this, and, you know, go to barbecues with country covers of Paramore playing. That's the Applebee's. Exactly. I feel like that trend is gaining some traction, and I want to see more of it. I'm on board with it. I like it.
If you're a scene kid, I'll stand with you. If you're emo, I'll support you. If you're a kid, I'll support you. If you're a goth, I'll support you. If you're a heavy metal kid, I'll support you. If you're a punk kid, I'll support you.
I'm confused by this. I want to know what this is all about. This reminds me of like MySpace blingies, like, you know, those little glittery GIFs that people would post. That's what this reminds me of. Finally, the support I've needed. I don't think this is ironic. I think that this is someone who's either just sort of refreshingly sincere and just genuinely wants to help all of her friends. I'm assuming it's a girl. I don't know. But, or is this like a 12-year-old? I don't know, but I like it. I think we should be supportive of this kind of thing. The world does not need more cynical, snarky stuff. This is obviously a little bit naive, emo pilled, but I like this energy. I support it. We should be on board with this. This is cool. I heard you like bad boys. I'm a bit of a bad boy myself. Oh, what's even more edgy than that would be if you put the short forks in the long fork compartment, or vice versa. I mean, I feel like he's already breaking the rules. They've got this mismatching silverware. I feel like the real hallmark that you're an adult is when you get matching silverware, which I didn't have until I was like in my fucking 30s. When we got married, I think we got a Crate and Barrel gift certificate or something. We got some matching like flat black silverware. And at first I thought it was a stupid waste of money, but then I was like, you know what? That was worth it. It made me feel like my life was complete. And it's Kellen Quinn. This is one of my favorite genres of comedy that's gotten popular now. The sort of intentional minor factual error. Cool hair, by the way. I did this post on Metal Sucks years ago. This is from 2010. And I said, how are you spending Cowboys from Hell's 30th anniversary with this graphic? As any true metaler knows, Pantera's breakthrough album Cowboys from Hell was released 30 years ago today. While all of Pantera's releases are classics in their own right, I think we can all agree that it was this album which officially inaugurated the new generation of power groove and paved the way for countless metal and hardcore bands to come. Obviously, it did not come out 30 years ago on that day, because that would have been 1980. Look, there's 850 comments of people telling me that I was wrong. And then they realized what I was doing. They're like, I don't understand, bro. What's the joke? Like, you deliberately got this wrong, and then you're just laughing at us when we correct you? And I was like, I mean, yes, that's the joke. Shout out to my friend Jose for pioneering this genre of humor. I'm glad to see that this has made its way onto TikTok too. Speaking of trolls, well, yeah, one of my favorites, the intentional factual error, is one of the highest forms of comedy, in my opinion.
Thoughts of a 90s pop punk hit PT2. GK is a modern pop punk angel set from how she needs to make a pop punk record like girls like guys with small penises. I want to fuck Travis Barker.
I mean, I'm not saying I want to, but would I? I mean, of course. Who wouldn't? He's famous. I mean, it'd make a great story, right? You know, you go to work and meet everyone like, oh, you know, what'd you do this weekend? Anything fun? You're like, well, yeah, actually, you're not going to believe it, but, Ooh, I met Travis Barker. I would. And you would too, don't lie. POV, it's 2011 and your mom won't let you dye your hair. Making the raccoon tails with marker with Broken Side. I remember even as recently as like 2011 or 12, they still sold the clip-in raccoon tail hair extensions at Hot Topic, which I always wanted to get. That's when they still had Austin Carlisle or Die shirts. And you remember when Austin Carlisle had those shirts, it just had his face on it really big. I saw Broken Side on that tour with Census Fail and Hollywood Undead in 2008, I guess it was, maybe 2009. That was interesting because I knew who Broken Side was then because I had seen the video and stuff like that, but I didn't know that much about them. I walk in and they had fog and a light machine. Like if you remember Ants, he was credited as like lights and fog. And they're playing Schizophrenia, and there's the song, the part of that song's like 5, 6, suck on my dick. And I was like, what did I just walk in on? Yeah, that was an interesting experience. I was Broken Side live. I've seen them like several times, actually. I saw them then. I saw them on Warped Tour. I mean, I wouldn't say that they're good necessarily, but it was cool that they did it. I mean, it was like, it is what it is, you know? It was different and sincere, and I think it's cool that they did it.
I can't talk right now. I'm doing hot girl.
Fuck being good, I'm a bad bitch. I'm sick of
love this
motherfuckers
song.
trying to tell me, bitch, you better hope I never run across your man.
I mean, there's obviously a scene revival happening, which, by the way, I predicted as well. I was a little bit early to it, because usually I am. But look,
Neon.
I said this was going to happen in 2019, and it actually ended up happening in 2020. But I called it.
Obviously, we've got to bring back neon cartoon monster merch.
So I called it, and here we are, you know, a year and a half later or something like that. It's real. What's interesting is she's not a kid. You know, this girl is in her 20s, whereas, you know, back in the day, the original scene kids were like 13, 14, like really young. And now a lot of these people are in their 20s or maybe a little bit more, you know, more like hipster-ish kind of sorta. It's interesting. It's like a different vibe, but it's the same look. And I'll be interested to see where it goes. Yeah, it's wild. You know, you go to the mall and you'll see someone like this in the wild, and you feel like what's the guy's name that narrates all those? That's like that spots the water buffalo. I can't remember. But anyway, point is, I called this shit.
I wish I was swag.
Same girl.
If only I was swag. Yo, I'm so swag right now. Oh my god. Ah!
The bows.
Damn.
Melissa invented that. Yeah, I mean, it's nice. I think it's nice that people are reviving this. Where do you get a shirt like this is my question. And those gloves. Is Melissa responsible for JoJo Siwa? Man, she might be. I don't know how she feels about that, but yeah, she might be responsible for JoJo Siwa. If she is, you know, we'll forgive her. Oh yeah, this is a very interesting trend. I'll just read what Ant sent me because I think she did a good job of summarizing this. I'm going to send you some alt Christian videos, and I just find these kinds of people fascinating, and I'm not sure why. Alt Christian, like an alternative person who is Christian, and they're so into Christianity that they make videos about it and talk about it, but also they're so into it that they make their entire personality around it as well. Actually, now that I write it down, it does make sense. Like if you're the type of person to base your entire personality about what music you like, you're also the type of person to base your entire personality around your religion. Anyway, I think it's super interesting and weird. So let's see an example of alt Christians.
You can expect from me, and that's the unexpected. 'Cause I'm
And the big reveal Christian. It is interesting to see this. There's a couple others. Well, yeah, I have some thoughts on this too. Let's look at a couple others.
People, they're like, oh, you're a musician. What sort of music do you make? And I'm just wondering how to say, oh yeah, I make emo trap Christcore without sounding like an absolute head case. Because I mean, I guess I could say, oh yeah, I cry about my broken brain and how much I love Jesus over the top of trap beats, but I feel like that would probably just make it worse. Someone help me out here, guys. I don't want to look crazy.
Oh, it's that same girl. This is the Monster Bow girl. This makes sense now that she's also Christian.
For a while, back in the late 2000s, early 2010s, it seemed like a big percentage of metalcore bands had Christian themes or claimed to be Christian. Full disclosure here, I am a Christian. A decade later, it seems like most of those bands have either disbanded or they don't claim Christ anymore. honestly seeing so many people lose their faith within the scene in bands and like fans. It's really heartbreaking to me. It's a real bummer to me that an obvious tail end of this is a lot of people becoming either disillusioned or generally frustrated with the faith. But yeah, I'm not exactly an expert on that.
Okay, so I have some thoughts on this alternative Christian thing in general. First of all, if you haven't seen my What Killed Christ core video, you can watch that. I have no problem whatsoever with Christians in any capacity or Christians in the alternative scene. I think a lot of them are really cool, wonderful people that I enjoy being around. I liked a lot of those bands, and I think like I genuinely value a lot of the ideas and stuff that I learned from them. However, there is a fundamental problem between being a Christian and participating in alternative culture as it exists now, because the fact of the matter is that, like, you know, the Bible, or really any Abrahamic religion, but we'll just talk about Christians, is not compatible with being woke or LGBT friendly or any of that. It just isn't. So like, this girl here who says, you know, that she's bisexual and friends with lots of witches and atheists. She also misspelled atheist. That's not compatible with what the Bible says. I mean, you can, you know, a lot of these people, they'll do a lot of sort of mental gymnastics to justify why these things are compatible and why it's okay to be a Christian but not be intolerant. And it's not. If you read, you know, Leviticus and shit, like, you're supposed to throw rocks at people for wearing two different kinds of fabric at the same time. Like, if someone's wearing wool and cotton at the same time, you're supposed to kill them. If they don't rotate their crops every 7 years, for example, you know, that's like, can be punished by stoning. That's old covenant, bro. Exactly. So what you need to do, if you want to be an alternative Christian, is you need to either distort the Bible to the point where you are misrepresenting what it actually says in order to fit it around like your progressive beliefs, or you can't be progressive, in which case you really are not going to be able to be part of alternative culture now. You can't be like, you know, anti-gay and be part of alternative culture now. That wouldn't be socially acceptable, and it shouldn't be. Isn't it just a modern Christian thing to just cherry pick whatever you want to justify what you feel? Yes, it is. That is not real Christianity. I mean, it's just not. Like, if you don't you don't get to pick and choose the word of God because it's compatible with your beliefs, or it's compatible with your lifestyle, I should say. As far as those bands who lost their faith, I think it's a lot of them who grew up in the church. And remember, a lot of these bands were like 16 when they started. They were kids and they didn't really understand what they were saying or what they believed. They didn't question it. And as they got older, they arrived at the same conclusion of like, man, I can't, like, to be a Christian would require me to believe some things that I don't believe and can't believe, and I'm not going to go along with, so I guess I'm not Christian anymore. And I think a lot of them stuck with that for a long time because they felt like they had to, because that was their fan base, and there's a lot of social pressure and stuff like that to be part of it. You know, at a certain point, they just, I think, had to make the, you know, difficult decision to make a break with it. And I understand why for people like him, that might seem, that might be a bummer, because, you know, it's still his identity. But I don't think a lot of those people ever really believed it. Yeah, it's like he's saying here, yeah, I'm straight edge. Yeah, I smoke crack. We exist. Exactly. Like, that can't exist. Nor can you be like a pro-queer Christian. Like, these two things are at odds. They cannot, these two things cannot coexist. And so I don't think a lot of these people ever really believed in Christianity as a belief system because they're raised in it. I think it was just their identity. So there's a certain point where some people, the people who are stronger critical thinkers, understand this and walk away from the identity and the belief system. There's other people who are not strong enough. And I'm not saying this to like put them down. I just think this is what it is. People are not strong enough in themselves. They've walked away from the belief system, but they won't walk away from the identity. And so that's when they have this like cognitive dissonance, when they have to do all these mental gymnastics to sort of justify why it's okay to be an alternative Christian, when really they should just stop being Christian because they don't actually believe it. And that's my opinion. So anyway, I don't know if that's a little heavier than you guys wanted to get into, but those are my thoughts on it.